have that shoe adjusted, now I'm going to take it to the foot and we'll nail it on. We're using a Liberty 5 combo that fits best in this shoe. When we set that nail in, it's tight, doesn't move around. There's enough head sticking up that I can hit that with the hammer. I'm going to check one more time. Put that shoe on. I'm going to use my fingers to go around the outside of that foot. I can also pull the foot forward and have a look down from this direction to see that I have enough expansion room. Make sure my clips are set in. Make sure my heels are in the proper position. I'll take that shoe or that foot between my legs in the natural range of motion for the horse. Choose my nail. Make sure that the trademark is towards the inside. And I'll start with the second nail on the inside. I'm putting my finger up along the hoof wall. I'm aiming my nail for that finger. I'm just tapping that nail in, feeling the nail as it goes. Remove my finger before sending that nail in, and you can feel and hear the difference in tissue texture as you send it in there. At this point, I'll bend that nail over or wring it off so that I don't have that sharp projectile going out. I'll take another nail, go to the outside or lateral branch, again placing my finger up the hoof wall where I want that nail to point, come out, aim for that finger, start the nail, move that finger, set the nail in. You do not have to hammer hard on the nails in order to get them in. Horses can be very sensitive to that. I'll put 2 nails in, I'll set the foot down, I'll look at how that shoe fits right now. If there is any problems with that shoe, I'm going to take the shoe back off, make the alterations, and put it back on. I'll gently set those clips in, and I'll do that with the urethane hammer. This is just a small adjustment to be made. Keeping my forehead away from the knee, I'll set those clips in and continue nailing. And this nail was somewhat low, so I'll pull that out with the crease nail puller and then replace it with another nail. I'm turning my body so that the horse's limb remains in the natural range of motion that allows the horse more comfort. And I work as quickly and as efficiently as I can so that I don't hold that horse's foot up for a great amount of time. Once I have applied the nails that I feel sufficient, then I'll use a clinch block, holding them underneath where the nail comes out of the hoof. I'll start at the heel and I'll gently tap down on that nail. This will bring those nails out at a 90-degree angle. Using this urethane hammer will protect your nailing hammer, and it will also be less abusive to the horse's foot. All right, big guy. So we finished the nailing process. I'm going to pull that foot forward and set it on a hoof stand. The hoof stand takes a lot of stress off of my body. It can also be a more comfortable position for the horse. Make sure that when you lift that foot up and put it on a hoof stand that you go in the natural range of motion of the horse, meaning don't pull it out too far or push it in too far. Another thing is if a horse has a navicular issue or some issue with the deep digital flexor tendon, they don't like to stretch out a long way. So the closer to the body that hoof stand is, the more comfortable those horses will stand. So I'm going to ask him to bring it up, and I'm going to feel when he gives me resistance. If he gives me resistance, I'm going to go in the natural range of motion. I'm going to set it there. I'm going to put my knee behind his hoof. I'm going to use a gouge with a urethane hammer, and this gouge just puts a little undercut underneath the nail, and just gently tap there and give that a little undercut. We'll do that on the inside to show you that I'm using this finish file. I'm going to use the coarse side, and I'm just going to make those nails all of a uniform length. Just gently go over them, uniform length. Square up the ends. All the burr is gone. There's a notch to set into. I'm going to use the clinching tool with the put the flat side underneath the shoe, the curved jaw on the hoof, and gently squeeze in. Gently squeeze in, and that will bend that nail over, fold it against the hoof wall. I'm going to use the smooth side of that file. I'm going to use the corner and gently go over them so that there's no rough edges. I'm going to work around that clip, and I'll go between the horse's foot and the shoe at an angle just to take off any sharp edges there, round up the toe. On the outside, I'm just going to use that finish rasp. Again, I'm going to go underneath, just take any burr off, use the coarse side, make them the same length. And then using the clincher, fold that nail over tight to the hoof wall. Using the smooth side of that finish file. And then go between the shoe and the hoof, round that up. And another alternative we have is a grinder. With the hoof buffer, make sure that the horse is used to it. And we're just going to gently start up and go around that foot and clean up those nails, smooth everything up, polish that hoof. Thank you. There we go. All right, big guy. I'm going to make sure that the sole is recessed so that I do not have any shoe resting on that sole, and I've done the same thing to the shoe. I'll set that shoe on in the proper position. Just tap it a little bit so my clips are back into the position I made for them. This inside branch is narrowed down. This is a little more full because this horse's base narrow, lands hard on the outside. I'm going to make sure that the trademark is towards the center of the shoe. The taper points it out. I'm going to start at the second nail hole on the inside. I'm going to put my finger up along the hoof wall where I'd like that nail to come out. I'm going to aim for that finger, and before that nail comes out, I'm going to move that finger. I'm going to tap it in. I'm listening. I'm feeling that nail to make sure that it's going through the appropriate tissue. I'll go to the outside of the shoe and I'll put my finger up against the hoof wall where I want the nail to come out. I'll aim for that finger, move that finger, drive that nail in. You don't have to slam these hard in order for it to fit tight in. Everything is manufactured so they fit together. I'm going to set that foot down. I'm going to evaluate what I've done, make sure that the fit is appropriate all the way around. If there are adjustments to be made, I'm going to take it back off, make those adjustments, and reapply it. When you're nailing, you want to make sure that your thumb is out of the way, because if the horse flinches or anything, your thumb is going to get it. It's not a thumb, it's a hammer magnet. So move it out of any position that the hammer might come in contact with. I'm wringing those nails off. Some people prefer to bend them over. Just as long as that sharp projectile is flattened out, cut off, or bent over, so that if the horse is to be spooked, your leg is protected. Once those nails are driven in, I'll again use the urethane hammer. I'll use the clinch block, putting the block against the hoof wall underneath the nail where it exits the hoof, and I'll gently tap on that. That starts the clinching process. It bends those nails out at a 90-degree angle. All right. Now I'm going to lift his foot up in the natural range of motion, set it on the hoof stand. I can use the hoof gouge and a urethane hammer and undercut those nails at this point. Then using the finished file, I'll file them all the same length, square up the ends. And using the clincher, the flat jaw will go underneath the shoe, the curved jaw up against the hoof wall. I just need to square those up a little bit more with the file. Then using the smooth file, the smooth side of the finished file, I'll smooth the nails up, round up the edges, go between the shoe and the hoof, and take the sharp edge off there. I'm going to use sander to further smooth and clean that hoof up. So we've got the shoe placed on there, and we're just going to go over a few things that we did to try to help him out. When we're working on these horses, we understand that they all have conformational deviations, that they're not perfectly straight, and what we're trying to do is allow them to work with what they have to the best of their ability. So we're going to take stresses off them in as many places as we can with the style of shoes that we put on. And for him, we wanted to set the shoe back and put a roller motion on that had allowed him to break over to the outside quarter, the lateral quarter, because that's where he naturally does. He is just a little bit back at the knee, meaning the cannon bone comes a little bit forward on both these limbs. And horses that are back at the knee will stress the front of the knee and elongate the soft tissues on the back of the leg. So that breakover is very important for a horse like this. And especially those horses like our warm bloods that have been crossed between a light horse and a heavy horse, they tend to have that back at the knee conformation. It's prominent in heavy horses that were bred to pull a plow or go at slow paces, but is not necessarily good for a horse moving quickly. The horse has quarter clips or side clips on it because that helps hold the shoe in position when they're twisting and turning and going in rough terrain, helps take stress off of those horseshoe nails and helps maintain that shoe in the position. When we look at his conformation, we're looking at the breakover. The breakover is not at the point of the shoe, but where it actually starts on that shoe, which is way back in here, which is important for a horse like this that has that conformation. Another importance is this shoe is rounded off on that corner. That's where he's breaking over. If we draw a line straight to the ground, that would be his breakover point, and we'll be able to divine that more clearly with images from the shots taken while he was in motion. We've given him a little more full shoe here. We've knocked off the outside corner here because he's base narrow and lands hard on that outside heel. We've narrowed up this inside or medial branch just a little bit, so that is allowed to sink into the ground a little more. This is floated on the outside. And all of these slight adjustments to this shoe are to help him do the best he can with what he's got.